Could you please mute everybody?
Yes, I will.
Thank you so much.
There you go.
There you go, Doug. Well, I'm so glad we made it, and it's only 30 minutes, so we still have your perfect timing for you to join us. Now, those of you who know Doug, you know that what an inspiring person he is. Let me give you a little bit about his background. Dr. Douglas Amos has been an ardent supporter of Crack the Wellness Code, as you all know. He is co-founder of Health Zone Life and creator of Health Zone Life model, along with Dr. Pankaj Vij. Dr. Pankaj Vij is a co-founder of Crack the Wellness Code. Dr. Doug Amos set out to this project with the objective of providing an open source model that medical professionals could freely use, both as an educational tool and in their practice. The website's goal is to provide platform for professionals who are leading the effort to improve the health of individuals in the face of epidemic levels of diabetes and related diseases. Previously founder and president of MSCO Consulting Group to provide management consulting services for a startup through mid-sized companies. With over 25 years of experience in the electronics industry, he brings a comprehensive background in management, human resources, communication, media, compliance issues, and organizational development. And now in his new role as the health hero and the wellness guru. So here is Dr. Doug Amos. Welcome. And I'll start with asking you for your own story.
Fine. Well, now that he's given me such a great introduction, I need to deconstruct that from the health side, and that I was, for the first 45 years of my life, somebody who none of you should be following or listening to at all, because I was born in this country, the United States, and when you're born, you're basically born with a clean sheet. You know, you're basically perfect. God delivered you perfectly into this world, but then you're impacted by the society that you grew up in, and from the very beginning, your parents give you food that they think is healthy, but in fact it has not been necessarily. And then you follow the taillights of the entire culture that you're in, with all the good and the bad. And in the United States, that meant that we basically followed the standard American diet, which is perhaps one of the most unhealthy diets in the world. And as a result of that, what happened is, by the time I was in my 40s, I needed quadruple bypass surgery. And then aside from that, I needed to have, I developed diabetes, and I began to have essentially the conditions which most Americans, unfortunately, are afflicted with. And so I've had blockages in my heart, and at one point I was going to go to my son's high school graduation. Actually, it was his junior high graduation into high school, and I basically felt some angina feelings, and so the result of that was I ended up being taken away before the event began by ambulance to the hospital, and the next day I had a quadruple bypass surgery. And so that was essentially one of the things which, unfortunately as long with a lot of Americans had, and I went through a period of trying to recover from that, still not knowing what caused that or how I got into this situation. And so what happened was, years later, my weight had ballooned up to like 260 pounds, and I was not the picture of health at that particular point in time. So the one thing which, God has given us as human beings is the ability to think and learn in terms of, like, how did I get into this situation, and what can I do to get out of it and what can I do to live a good life? And so what happened was I basically started to read, and I started to meet some interesting people, and one of which is part of the ICC, Dr. Pankaj Vij, who's probably, he's speaking tomorrow, I think, on the program. But so we became friends, and he became my doctor. And so we basically worked together to develop an approach to basically, get better. And so basically I've become a person who eats a whole food plant-based diet. And I basically followed some other strategies to get myself, in the best possible health as I could. As a result, as I've dropped from about 270 pounds down to about 178 pounds, which is, reasonably healthy. And my diabetes has become under control. I've been able to basically resume most functions which I would want to. And I actually, in this day and age, it's a good thing that I have done that, because there's some evidence in terms of your ability to weather any type of viral type of thing which you had if your immune system is working good. And I've been eating a diet which basically helps strengthen my immune system. So the bottom line on this is that, we all have a path which we're on from life to death, and we can choose, how big of a trajectory we're going to have this go. For example, the model we've been talking about is this one here. And I don't know how well that shows on that, but basically, as you can see, this is like reverse from right to left. You can see when you're born, you're in the green zone, which means healthy, no problems. And then as you go down the slide down towards the left on your screen, what you'll see is basically the typical trajectory of human life in the United States. And therefore, as you go down through various types of colors on that, then basically what happens is you change from green, which is healthy, to yellow, which is acceptable, to orange, red, which means inflammatory, and then to black, which is end stage, and where you start having serious health problems per se. Now the good news is that you're not stuck on that slide. You can choose to get off, and you can choose to mitigate that and actually move your direction more towards a more healthy lifestyle. By the way, that the full description of that model is available on our website, which is www.healthzonelife.com. And then you go to the menu and you can see where the model is. It's very interesting, and the model, if you noticed on that, was the colors are blurred, as they go down. And so what happens, that means is there's a granularity of change from one life stage or health stage to the next, because you don't just wake up in your early years up to age like 20, you feel you're pretty immortal and things are going to happen. It's going to be good forever. But then what happens is, as you go to the next stage, you start noticing you have difficulty, you get winded, you get out of breath when you're running up a hill or downhill or climbing a stair. And then later on, you start having real difficulty and you need help getting around, per se. So the challenge is to work a life so that you can go back towards green again. And the good news is that you're able to do that, and you're not victimized because it's not totally out of your control at all. You can program yourself to actually live a much more healthy life. And that's really the point. And that is, you know, the real question is, why is this so hard? Why do people have trouble with this? And I believe that what you can do is you have to reprogram your thought patterns, which means you have to unlearn some of the truths, what you think are truth and what's healthy, by getting more facts about what is going on. And that's why these programs in this course, these courses that you see and the books that are out there, which deal with nutrition and health. And and actually also if you go to the website, it's all free, by the way. We don't sell anything, you know, which would help you get information so that you can plan your strategy, your personal strategy of how you want to tackle this. Most Americans don't even think about it. They just follow the taillights of the diet that they eat last week and this week, because we are creatures of pattern behavior. What we had lunch yesterday is going to be very similar to what we have today and what we have tomorrow. And then as we get children and people in our family, they get programmed on the same diet that we're on. So we will all have our diseases of lifestyle
I don't know.
together.
Hmm.
Yes?
No, please continue. Doug,
Okay.
what amazes me is that you have not only dealt very well with all the issues, but you have come out in flying colors. And I think I know that it was your number one was your diet. Among all the four Mets, perhaps diet has made the most impact. So would you please tell me a little bit more about your diet and how you happen to choose this plant-based whole food diet? Because there are so many diets out there, the keto diet and the Mediterranean diet and so on and on. How did you decide to go for this diet, and what did it do for you?
Okay. I basically, first of all, did a lot of learning and looked at what the science, what the research has basically developed. And there is some resources. For example, Dr. Michael Greger has an excellent site where they call nutritionfacts.org. And what he and his people do is they go through all of the research that happens every year, and they basically consolidate that into basically meta-analyses of basically what are the most healthy things to do. Now, mind you, this information is not proprietary to them. It's also out in various locations, and there's a lot of doctors who basically understand this. And there's actually an organization called the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And this is mostly an organization of physicians and doctors and researchers and stuff like that who are dedicated to basically help this problem in the United States and probably around the world. There are similar organizations in Asia and also in Australia. And anyway, so I looked at that information, and I found out that, you know, the whole food plant-based diet, if you look at all the healthier diets that are around, and that, I would say that's whole food plant-based, vegan, basically vegetarian, Mediterranean diets. The people who live the longest and the healthiest in the world basically have some of the common elements in terms of what they are eating, and that is basically fruits, vegetables, nuts, berries, seeds, and and basically lots of water, and they stay away from things which are loaded in sugar, and they stay away things which are animal products. Foods from animals and things and the animals themselves are essentially, by the research, most times carcinogenic, unhealthy, and basically are problematic for the human species to eat. We are not carnivorous. We do not have canine teeth. And what happens is we basically are causing us, by eating unnatural foods, we are not living the right life for the most optimal health that we have. So the problem is that we have been ingrained by the culture and by the societies that we live in to follow things which are healthy. For example, when I was a small child, my mother really believed that milk was good and healthy and was really good. And she thought that that was great stuff. So, and I drank happily milk and ate it in cereals and that type of thing most of my life. But the problem was it basically is unhealthy for you. It has casein as one of the components of that, which is cancer causing. It basically is a trigger food for diabetes. It basically has bovine hormones, which are not designed for humans. They have the way they grow, the way they raise cattle in this country. They have feed, which basically has penicillin and other types of antibiotics in it. And if you drink or eat any of those dairy products, including cheese and yogurts and stuff like that, it basically, you are eating that as well. It also has, by the way, because of how they do the milking, some things like blood and pus and things like that in the product. So it's not healthy if you think about it. It's sort of disgusting, but milk was designed for baby calves. And the only milk which is designed for humans is from mother's milk, when you're born, and you need that for a short time. But after that time, you really don't need that either. But these are belief systems that I have now based upon the research that I read about and also my experience with that. So, but there's huge industries which are behind. By the way, there's plenty of nut milks and other types of things and substitutes, so you're not feeling like you're losing out on stuff. You still want cereal and you want something to put on your cereal, you can use almond milk, soy milk, rice milk, cashew milk, all those other options, and there's plenty of those around. So it's and they're becoming more and more popular. As a matter of fact, the market share of dairy has been dropping, while the other products have been increasing all along. So it's sort of an interesting time to be around because people are slowly waking up in this country to this. Unfortunately, not fast enough. We need to do what's healthy. Did I hear a question coming in?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Is any? Please go ahead and ask questions if you have any. In the meantime, Doug, what are the 3 key things you would suggest based on all your research? 3 key take-home ideas for people. What would you suggest?
Okay, probably I would break it down to you need to 5 simple things. First of all is take on a whole food plant-based diet. And you can Google that if you want, or you can take a look at Dr. Vija's book, or in one of a million other guys who are writing about that these days, in terms of that definition. And then secondly, if you do that is to get some movement, and I say movement versus exercise, because mankind is not meant to be sitting around all day long. Although with this COVID isolation in your house, it's easy to get trapped into that mode. So at least program, 30 minutes at the very least, and an hour a day of movement around, and that could be walking. It's excellent exercise. If you do 10,000 steps a day, it's about 5 miles, you'll get about 80% of the value of going to a gym and working out, in terms of if you do that with a brisk walk and that type of thing. So that's a good thing to do. If you're based, the other thing is to practice some form of meditation or relaxation, and there's various types of techniques for that. ICC basically has some classes on that, which would be really good. And then the third thing is surround yourself with supportive people and people you care about. And those are the people, that cohort of people that you have adds ballast to your life when you have crises like the one we're going through now, who you can count upon and you care about, and it basically helps you to to get that done. So I think that, and I would probably put that into the category of love, in that you're able to love is a really important factor here, in terms of and try not to hold any enmity, and don't get too wrapped up in the politics, because that's nobody will care in 100 years in terms of that. Seems important now, but what's really important is how you are with other people and what you do in terms of your life and trying to live the right way. I think that answers that question.
Dinesh?
Yeah, Vivek, please go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question for Dr. Nemes.
Sure.
Does that 16-8 fasting eating cycle help with the plant-based diet, or is it not required?
Well, I'm the all of the above strategy. In other words, if you're looking to control your weight, if you are looking to basically improve that, is to learn to eat not all the time. If you look at, you have a billion-dollar industry which is trying to encourage you to always have something going in your mouth in this country, and be that snacks or foods or beverages and that type of thing. But you have to stop eating eventually. So I personally am on a probably 18-hour fast every day. I eat basically I have one eating period a day, which goes from about noon till about 3:30 in the afternoon. And then after that, I don't eat anymore. And I have plenty of calories, and like you can eat, especially if you're doing a whole food plant-based diet, you don't really have to worry about quantity, because the calorie density is pretty small in terms of eating salads and that type of thing, or eating plants per se. But really, I think the 2 days meat, two meals per day, or 1 meal a day. I think the real strategy is to eat when you're hungry, as opposed to what the clock says. So you don't have to eat because it's noon. You don't have to eat because it's 9 in the morning. It's not a religion. You can choose to do that. Millions of people in the world practice fasting in all types of cultures, some for religious reasons, some for diet, some for philosophical reasons. But food is not it's food as energy and nourishment, not food as entertainment. And
Anything specific, doctor, for Crohn's disease or IBS type problems? Anything specific in the plant-based diet that people can have?
You know, there is, but to be honest with you, I don't know specifically what the answer for that would be. I would really recommend you go to the nutritionfacts.org, and then they have a search engine, and you type in Crohn's disease, and they will basically give you some strategies on that. But I think the whole food plant-based diet is good for it, but in terms of a specific strategy on that, I would recommend you get this, or you would also talk to a physician who has an expertise in nutrition as well as medicine.
What is the website that I can go to?
I posted it in the chat box.
Yes,
Chat box.
yes,
All right. Now,
nutrition.
Doug, one thing I would say is that I also started doing intermittent fasting, and this combination of whether you are on a plant-based whole food diet, or whether you are on a Mediterranean diet, or whether you are simply eating more fruits and more veggies and more nuts, like you said, cutting down sugar and cutting down soda. I think if you can cut down the processed food, then that's the magic. That's where the magic is. So what I'm experiencing is actually, I'm finding that I'm eating more now. I can eat as much as I want. And I actually lost some weight. And now my body mass index is perfect. And so in combination of any good diet plus intermittent fasting. And I'll tell you where the magic I found in intermittent fasting. Most people, after 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, once they have finished their dinner, there is this binge around 9 o'clock, and then you rush for your closet or your refrigerator, and you have cookies and candies and ice cream, and we are addicted to sugar. And I think that's where the real damage occurs. So in intermittent fasting, what I found is that you actually do not want to, once, like I eat between 9 to 5, and after 5 o'clock, I really don't have any desire to eat. So the biggest benefit I found of intermittent fasting is that you stop eating that junk food, processed food. And once you do that, then your problem is gone, because now you are eating consciously, and you control your binges. So I would urge everyone listening to Doug here, and the 3 advices he gave, is to please try it out. And don't start with 18 hours. Start like maybe in the beginning, you cut it down to 7, maybe 19 or 20, or even I would say start with whatever you're doing, just cut 1 hour less. So if you've been eating from 8 to 8, 12 hours, then cut down, make it 8 to 7 or 9 to 8. And then as you progress, you will see amazing weight loss. You will feel more energy. And actually, Doug, I used to be on some medication, and I'm finding that without that, I'm doing well now on BP medication. And my BP has never been so low. It's running in 120 range. So I really want to thank you, Doug, for taking the time. I know you are going to go for a hike today, and you rescheduled that for this program. So we really appreciate it. In parting, we have last 2 minutes left. Anything else you would like to share with our participants today?
Just a couple of comments. On our website, the Health Zone Life website, there are some videos in the resource section, which are free. Lectures by Dr. Jason Fung on intermittent fasting. And I would recommend those to people who are interested in the topic. He has an excellent book out as well on the complete guide to intermittent fasting. I'm a diabetic, and I'm controlling my diabetes primarily through lifestyle, which is fasting, my moderate exercise, and basic. And I'm totally off of insulin at this particular point. I'm taking 2 metformin tablets, and that's it. And otherwise, everything's good. Listen, so I'm wishing for all of you to have wonderful experiences, for the best life possible, to be as healthy as you can be, and to enjoy every tick of the clock of the day of your life. And much love to all of you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Doug. Again, at Crack the Wellness Code, our mission is to educate, inspire, and empower. And this wellness support group, we focus on empowering each person here so that you can begin to change your habits towards wellness habits. And next week on Saturday, 9 a.m. PT, we will share our experiences. So we are doing alternate each week. One week we invite a guest speaker, someone like you, Doug, who has a lot of knowledge, a lot of research, and practically experienced everything and doing it now. And the following week, we discuss among all our participants in our community how we are changing our habits, what are our success stories, and what are our challenges. So with that, have a wonderful week and a wonderful Father's Day weekend. So celebrate, enjoy, and we'll see you next Saturday right here. Thanks again to all of you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dinesh and Doug. Thank you so much.
Thanks. See you around.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
I don't know.